You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you so much for doing so. It's Football Friday, and I've got with me Michelle Garmon and Scott Hunt. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Happy to be another Friday night.
Exactly what Scott said.
All right, let me start with the scores. I'll just go over all the scores that I have so far, and then we'll talk about the games. Madison-Grant 20, Eastbrook 14 in our game of the night. Also in the CIC, Alexandria beat Frankton 42-28, Mississinawa 58, Elwood 0, and Oak Hill 52, Blackford 6. In the Hoosier Conference, Lafayette Central Catholic beat Tipton 35-13 to essentially win the small school division conference championship. And I have the other score here. Logansport 28, West Lafayette 14. So Logansport is probably going to win. Or is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So Logansport is likely going to win the big school division of the Hoosier Conference. In the Hoosier Heartland, Eastern beat Tri-Central 28-6. Sheridan 21, Delphi 7. So big bounce back win for Sheridan. Clinton Prairie 48, Taylor 7. Seems like everything came back to the mean, doesn't it, Michelle? Big win for Yorktown 21-7 over Greenfield Central. Delta beat Pendleton Heights 27-26 with a touchdown with 52 seconds left. New Palestine 35, Shelbyville 0. In the North Central Conference, Lafayette Jeff 70, Marion 28. Lafayette Jeff wins its 20th NCC championship. Kokomo 57, Richmond 29, McCutcheon 20, Muncie Central 14. Very good game. Harrison 52, Anderson nothing. In the Three Rivers Conference, Northwestern 40, Wabash 6. And our two independents, West Dell 72, Park Tudor 45, 72-45. And Heritage Christian 40, Lapel 21. Scott, of course, you were covering tennis most of the night. Michelle, you were following along with Tipton, but give me your overall thoughts of a really good week.
I following along. Well, I was listening to the Tipton game, and then following along the other games. It was quite kind of a high scoring night for some of these games,
Yes.
and it's I think the turnovers played a huge part. I mean, for Lapel, that killed them. They had like 3 turnovers, I believe, in the first quarter.
Wow.
And Delta Pendleton Heights game, Delta scored late, but Pendleton Heights had a field goal attempt that fell just short.
Right. From our boys soccer player of the night from last night.
So see, there you go. So you had some close games and you had some blowouts. The Sheridan Delphi game, Delphi led 7-0 at halftime. So Sheridan, Bud must have lit a fire under those guys.
That's right. Yeah. Scott, tell me a little bit about your tennis.
Mississinawa won another sectional championship. Beat Huntington North 4-1. It wasn't. It was kind of dominant. Mississinawa won their 3 of their 4 matches were in 2 sets. They won number 3 singles in 3 sets, and then the match that went the longest was a number 1 doubles that Huntington North won. So they're the only senior on Huntington North's team was in the number 1 doubles lineup, and to get a move on to the regional on Tuesday. This is the match of the tournament was last night between Madison-Grant and Mississinawa. Mississinawa beat Madison-Grant 3-2. Came down to the number 1 singles position. Senior Luke Gilman from MG and Garrett Spencer from Mississinawa, and it was just it was one of the best individual tennis matches I've seen in my 8 years of covering high school sports for the Chronicle Tribune. just long rallies. I mean, that match itself took 3 hours to play, and it was the deciding point of the night for between those two. And Garrett Spencer broke Gilman's serve. Only service break of the third set, and that ended up being the difference in the match. It's been I've enjoyed watching Luke Gilman play tennis for the last 4 years, and it's one of those matches that you just don't, you really don't want to see either kid lose.
Right.
They're both such good kids, and Luke had beaten. This is the first time Garrett had beaten Luke in their high school days. I know they played together. Some of them played some tournaments against each other in the summer, and it was. I think Garrett had gotten him a few times outside of high school tennis, but Garrett really he got down 4-0 right off the start. Lost the first set 6-2, and then got down 2-0 in the second set. Could have easily folded up the tenths and called it a career, but fought back, won the second set 6-4, and then won the third set 6-4, and kind of had a feeling and had heard going into last night that was probably the sectional championship match. Huntington,
Right,
the defending champ, but they lost 5 or 6 of the 7 kids via transfer or graduation of the kids that won the sectional last year. So good for Mrs. Sinwall. Mrs. Sinwall's first year coach is Kayla Dubuque. She was a standout player for Marion High School that not that long ago. She played some at Indiana Wesleyans. She had hip and knee injuries kind of derailed her college career, kind of shortened it up a little bit, but now she's teaching at Miss Sinwall and has really made a pretty good impression. I talked to Garrett tonight after the match, and that Kayla was a little bit different than what some of those kids that we're used to the last couple of years. Said that Garrett told me that they did a lot more running than they'd ever done in the past. But, it's cool to see. I watched Kayla win some sectionals at Marion, and to see her kids accomplish that tonight was pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. Michelle, before we get to football and go through the games real fast, pretty good day for Josie at State.
Yeah, it was. She didn't shoot quite as low as she wanted. She struggled with the putter today a little bit. Had a few too many 3 putts, but she hit the ball well. And the great thing was she stayed level and calm. She shot an 84, 12 over. But there were 3 players with even scores since I tweeted, because I tweeted when I got back before I got ready for football. IHSA has already updated things, and Noblesville's actually ahead of Zionsville, I believe, by 5 strokes heading into tomorrow.
Yes.
And Westfield somehow is now 3rd, and Hamilton Southeastern 4th. I always have to laugh because I know, Scott, you've been down there too. It seems like as you're writing, especially I remember like last couple of years with the boys, we'd be writing and everything, and we'd have stories almost done, and they'd come over. Chris would come over with we got an update. It changed, it changed, and then you have to go back and correct your story. But I think it's nice because what they do is with the birdie golf, they want the players to report their scores. I think they just but I don't, they're not official, and that's the only bad thing is then they add it, and then I think once all the official scores are in and entered into the computer, then it changes. So, but it was a good day. Josie played with Mechanical Senior, Daisy Williams, and Daisy had a very good day. She finished at +3 and is in contention for a medal tomorrow. I will say this: those 4 top teams are playing together tomorrow, and the final pairing that's going to tee off on one, I believe, is Boy of Westfield, Kelly of Noblesville, Garcia of Hamilton Southeastern, and Snively of Zionsville. That should be a pairing, and my guess is that will end up having drawing a lot of attention and a big crowd over those final few holes.
Yeah, Daisy Williams, by the way, of McConaughey is in 8th, and Josie Kelly of Noblesville is tied with her in 8th. The three-way tie is Addie Coy from Westfield, Taylor Snively, a freshman from Zionsville, and Paige Giovanco, who I actually covered a little bit at Floyd Central. So that'll be a good it'll be a good day Saturday, and I think you're going to be back there, right, Michelle?
I am. I plan to be there. Josie's actually going to tee off at the same time she did on Friday at 8:50 on the 10th tee again. So, she can kind of have a routine and kind of know what she's going to do based off as far as warm up and based off the day. Of course, the pin placements will be different, so it won't be quite the same. I'm wondering. I think maybe they were difficult on a couple holes today because you would see golfers. There were, for a big part of the day, there were golfers in at least one and up to 3 or 4 in red numbers. No red numbers by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so
looks like they need to adjust those pars. The pars. All right, let's get to some football. The CIC game of the year, of course, 2 teams that Scott covers, and Scott was there for, would you say, about a quarter of it?
The tennis courts are close enough where I could hear what was going on, but I just couldn't see it.
And as I said,
in the stadium until the fourth quarter.
As I said, Madison-Grant won that game 20-14. I believe they led from start to finish, but very good game. Eastbrook actually had a chance in the fourth quarter. Couple of really big fourth down stops for Madison-Grant, and Coach Turner was pretty happy with it. So, what were your observations, Scott?
Been talking to Coach Turner, and I was close enough. I made my way and eavesdropped on his post game huddle with the Argyles, and yeah, they were extremely happy. That's a big win for in a lot of ways for Madison-Grant. Obviously, it had been 10 years, I think, since they'd beaten Eastbrook. And the last time was 34-33 was the final score. But Madison-Grant hasn't been challenged really at all this year, so I feel like, and I told one of the parents walking out of the stadium, the playoffs started tonight for Madison-Grant, and really for Eastbrook too. Coach Adamson was obviously disappointed in the loss, but they got down 14-0 very, very quickly. Like Madison-Grant forced 3 and out, went down and scored, forced another 3 and out, went down and scored again, and they were rolling. And Eastbrook somehow, found a way to slow down that offense and held them to 6 points the rest of the night and gave themselves an opportunity. Coach Adamson said they got the ball down inside inside Madison-Grant's 15-yard line 3 times and just couldn't pick up that first down to sustain the drive and give themselves a chance to cut it into the lead even more. It was kind of ironic that when I did walk into the stadium, Madison-Grant was backed up after one of those goal line stands. They were backed up inside their 5 and forced to punt with about 10 minutes to go. And maybe the play of the game, definitely the play of the game that I saw was a 73-yard punt by Chad Lamb of Madison-Grant that completely flipped the field. Eastbrook drove down and scored, but it ran, with just inside of 10 minutes when they took over, and they didn't score till about 4.5 minutes to go in the game. So it took them 6 minutes of very precious time when it's a close game like that. And that's I've seen in high school football this year for sure.
All right. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When I was following along on Twitter, Madison-Grant, they gambled for it like in their own territory, and there was a fumbled snap, and Eastbrook took over at the Argyle 30, and Madison-Grant's defense didn't let him in the end zone. That defense was pretty good tonight.
Well, and I understand what Coach Turner's thinking is there. I mean, their offensive line is so good that he has. That's just the confidence he has in those kids, the power running game that they have. That they're going to be able to pick up short yardage, and obviously you've got to execute every part of that play to make it work. And sounds like the execution piece was what failed them at that point. But I would say he's got a 4th and short outside.
Do you think you have to have a lot of confidence in that defense to do that too, deep in your own territory, to believe that? Because then they did. I mean, they kept them from out of the end zone.
Well, a lot of those same kids that are scoring 40 to 50 points a game are on the opposite side of the ball. They're just a big, strong front on both sides of the football, and they've been hard to deal with. And I think that was as impressive, a thing to me was talking to Coach Adamson was somehow those Eastbrook kids found a way to neutralize that a little bit. They just came up short. It's one of those games that could have broke either way, and Madison-Grant made enough plays to hold on and win. I've kind of thought for a while that there might have been a little mental block with Madison-Grant when it came to Eastbrook. I kind of felt like I saw that last year because I don't know that the teams are too different. But Madison-Grant went over to Eastbrook after rolling over Oak Hill big time and rolled into Eastbrook, and Eastbrook shut down that offense and gave themselves a couple of short fields and scored enough. I think the final last year was 24-8. So
I talked to I talked to both coaches after the game. Here is Coach Adamson with his thoughts. Always disappointing to lose, especially to a rival, but it sounds like it was a really good effort from your team.
Really was. It was a hard-fought game on both sides, I thought. And we had 3 opportunities in the red zone. If we'd have converted one of them, could have made it a different game, but just came up a little short tonight.
How much of that was due to Madison-Grant's defense?
Oh, man, they played extremely well. On both sides of the ball, but their defense definitely rose to the occasion in those instances when they needed to.
What did you learn about your team tonight, Coach?
I love these guys, man. They fight hard regardless of the circumstances. We got down early and kept battling back, and right there at even at the very end of the game, within the last 4 minutes, we still had a chance to either tie it up or win it, and just can't ask for much more than that.
Like Scott was talking about, Eastbrook leads the all-time series 31-14 and had won 9 in a row and 27 of the last 31 against Madison-Grant. As if Madison-Grant didn't have enough weapons. They had 4 running backs with over 200 yards coming into the game, and one of those was not Rosen White, who was the big player tonight.
Yeah, it's funny. Coach Turner and even Brock Massey, the defensive coordinator and strength and conditioning coach from Madison-Grant,
who was a guest of mine on the podcast yesterday.
Preseason, both of them told me, they had joked with each other that they may not have enough footballs, but to go around. Well, they figured out how to get the ball to different people, and obviously Cole Stitt's been at the head of that pack all season long, but Andy Stanley's had weeks where he has been very prominent in the running game, and last week at Frankton, and then a little bit again tonight, OJ Blackwell has had some big runs and big plays, and I think Rosen White started out the season and he was a little bit banged up. I think he's gotten healthier as it goes on. Rosin,
Yeah, he missed week 1.
He's the guy that when they need the short yardage, it's no secret he's going to get it probably 9 out of 10 times from, if they're on the goal line or they're any down and short, Rosin's probably going to get it. And it was his night tonight. I saw had a friend of mine send me his stats from the game, and I saw Rosin had a 60-yard run mixed in there somewhere. So that's going to be a hard thing for teams to prepare for Madison-Grant in the tournament. Is you've got and those are the 4 main ones, but he's also got Brock Barnhart and Harry Brooks that he can throw
That's right.
in that mix if one of those other guys need a break at any time. I mean, he's legitimately got 6 ball carriers that can.
Oh, and Yagi too.
Yeah, I don't know if the X is going to do a whole lot of running with the football. He's going to do what he needs to do. He's a great leader for that offense,
Right.
but I don't know the X wants to do a whole lot of running. And with a stable of horses like he's given the football to every night.
That's right.
He should never have to do a whole lot of running. But they're going to be a nightmare to prepare for teams that don't see them on a regular basis. And I feel good about Madison Grant's chances of making a pretty significant run come postseason.
Oh, I do too, Scott. Especially, as long as the next couple of weeks they don't have it, and I know they've got the depth, but don't have like a key, like a big injury to a key player.
Yeah, and that they had a couple kids dinged up tonight. My tired mind is the one is slipping me, and I think it was one of the kids that plays both ways on the line that missed some snaps tonight. But at the same time, Madison Grant's been so dominant this year that Brady's been able to get kids that don't have experience and to play against the ones of other schools and get them some experience. And tonight, obviously, he was able to get a couple by necessity, get a couple young kids in to take really, crucial reps against a really good football team in Eastbrook, and that will, maybe help ease some of the fears that could come along with an injury to somebody up front. It's they're primed. They've got, I said before, Madison Grant started their playoffs tonight against Eastbrook, and I don't think it's going to be easy for them next week.
No, sir. No.
Because Alexandria presents a different concern. Where Eastbrook, what Adamson's teams are going to do and their strengths. They like those long 6-minute drives. Run it down your throat between the tackles most of the time.
Yeah.
Occasionally get how outside. But Alec is going to say, okay, here we come with our fleet of receivers and a quarterback that can throw the ball. Can you cover us?
And actually, I talked to Coach Turner after the game, and we actually talked a little bit about the challenge that Alexandria will be. He was very happy with the performance tonight. Coach, obviously, probably the biggest win of the year for you, a rival on homecoming to go 7-0. Tell me about the win tonight.
I thought it was a very physical, a very assignment-based game. Our defense played absolutely fantastic. In the second half, they were put in very bad situations, and we're able to hold them, and then we had a punt that totally flipped the field. We did not win the field position game in the second half, but I felt like our defense held strong and carried us. I thought we started fast. We got a stop on the very first possession, and our offense went down and scored, and we went up 14-0. and we were able to just kind of maintain it, but our defense played great.
Does this confirm anything to you, or did you already know this team was as good as this?
Well, I mean, the big test. Oak Hill is no slouch.
That's true.
I thought we did pretty good against them. Eastbrook is a team that is always physical. They're very well coached. This is the biggest one of the year, yes, but I feel like our kids have been challenged throughout the year, and this tells me that we're mentally there and mature enough to be able to withstand some adversity and be able to capitalize on the opportunities that were given to us.
And a couple of big ones coming up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, very good. They got us last year, so we want a little bit of revenge from there. And of course, Macedon last game of the year. So a couple big ones coming up here at the end, but I feel like we're ready.
Just for Madison-Grant to limit what Alexandria can do offensively, I think they're going to have to get quick pressure on Brady Gast, because if they give him time to step back and find those kids on the perimeter, then it could get really interesting for the Argyles. I think back to the Oak Hill game that they had, I believe it was week 3 or 4. Madison-Grant got up big on Oak Hill, really got up 30-0, early in the second quarter. And, Coach Ozmun and his MO is run the ball as much as anybody else, as much as they can. And they went away from the run. And I kind of teased him the next week. I said, did we see the debut of Aaron Ozmun? And he was slightly amused, but not really. Oak Hill threw the ball 27 times that night and had success. They have 2 athletic receivers, probably similar to the kids that Alexandria has on perimeter, and those kids went and made plays. The sophomore quarterback for Oak Hill, he got, he was athletic enough to give himself some time against Madison-Grant, and then he relied on his receivers to make plays, and they did go make plays. And Coach Turner was concerned coming out of that game that was something that they were going to have to work on and fix. And we're going to see how, I would imagine Alexandria is going to test that as much as they can, and we'll see if the Argyles can defend that pass. I'll go back to what I said at the beginning here, was Madison-Grant's best way to keep Brady Gast from going crazy is to get a lot of quick pressure on him up the middle and make him move off the spot, and
to have long drives offensively to keep him on
Yes.
the field.
And that too. And that's probably the best way to defend against him, is just to not let him on the football field. That could be a very interesting game.
And because he's got, like week 1 when Tri Central had success throwing the ball, they pretty much had success just going to the power point. What they ended up doing was just went ahead and just putting Stanley on him, flipping him over. They had Stanley lining up on one side, back there. And then in the end, they just put him on there, and then that shut down that passing game. But Alec has got 5 guys.
Yes, they do. Speaking of which, Brady Gast threw for 5 touchdowns tonight, 3 to Bryson Eckler, who's become his 1B target, and 2 to Mason Fuller. Fuller actually scored a touchdown on the last play of the half. Frankton scored it was 42-28 was the final score. Frankton scored the final 21 points, including a block punt for a touchdown.
Under a running clock. That game went to a running clock, and then all of a sudden Frankton started scoring. And I wonder if, and I know you probably did. Coach Gast called, right?
Yes.
Did he feel like that his team maybe, and yes, coaches usually don't do that, but sometimes the kids that maybe they kind of let their foot off the
He
gas.
said he was disappointed with the sloppiness, and they had a couple of fumbles in their own territory. But overall, he was quite happy. Little editor's note here. Unfortunately, my interview with Coach Gast, the file was corrupted. Probably something I did wrong, and I apologize profusely to Coach Gast for losing his audio. But like I said, he was quite happy with their performance and with the way his team has been playing.
I was going to say, I saw some highlights because that game was video streamed.
Right.
And I will say this: watching Frankton's secondary, some of those guys, they just let too many of the Ellick receivers cross their face
Mm-hmm.
and get good position. And I thought their techniques were poor, at times. You just kind of like in basketball, you just can't let offensive players cross your face, because once that happens, you are you're at a disadvantage.
That's right. Mrs. beat Elwood 58-0. The Indians are now officially giving up 1 point per game.
Hey, let me give you a little side. I don't know. He may get a little bit. I don't think he'll get upset. He may laugh because he texted to me. Bob Nichols went and shot photos of that game for me, and just because I needed some more photos of Elwood, and unfortunately their schedule just makes it hard to get maybe a great game. But he actually he said for the first time since he was a player, and he graduated in 78 and 79, I believe, 1979.
Mm-hmm.
He got tackled on a football player.
Oh, no.
On the football field.
Oh,
He
no.
said he was making a tackle. Somebody was making a tackle and kind of swinging, and he got his legs taken out from under. But he says he's okay. So
I had to run away twice in a game earlier this year, so I know what that's like. While videoing. So, Scott,
That's one of my worst fears.
yeah, especially at this age. I got hit when I was about 26, and I recovered in about a day, but that would not happen now.
Let me tell you, 6'7" a long way to fall.
Yes.
oh yes, I bet it is.
All right. Oak Hill beat Blackford 52-6. Not a surprise there. Didn't have a lot of details. I did talk to Coach Ozmun after the game, and here he is.
No, I thought it went pretty well. We got off to a quick start, played really well defensively, had a good special teams night, and then offensively we were able to move the ball and do a few things. Had a little letdown early, a few drop passes, a couple of missed blocks, and weren't executing as well as we would have liked, but kind of ironed that out in the second quarter and then played pretty well the rest of the way.
How are you feeling about your team through 7 weeks, Coach?
No, I like them. I like our group a lot and feel really good about things. Last week we actually played pretty well. Just came up on the short end. And,
right.
But if you look at the actual play, I think we're playing really well. I think we put 3 really good weeks together, 2-1 in that time, and kind of hitting a stride here just when we need to. We're out of the conference race, so now we got to focus on the playoff race or the playoffs coming up. So, tonight was a good step forward, and just need to focus and make sure we're getting better next week and the following week.
I think Oak Hill probably did exactly. I haven't seen a box score from them yet. I usually get one late Saturday or late Friday or early Saturday. My guess is Oak Hill, controlled the ball, controlled the clock. Wyrick and Dylan Archer, I would say, probably had big games, and Bud loves his offensive line, and he flat admitted, obviously, and if you've seen most of the CIC teams play, that Mrs. and Madison-Grant are both on a different plane than anybody else in the conference. But
Absolutely.
I think Oak Hill sits at the top of that second tier maybe along with Alexandria, but Bud's got a really good offensive line, and he's going to hang his hat on those guys clearing the way for his running game, and I would guess they had a big night running the football.
And I want to go back just a minute. Mississippi, another running clock game. Can Eastbrook and Madison-Grant, can they force them to have to play 4 complete quarters? Because I think if they don't have to play a 4-quarter game at all this regular season, full 4 quarters, it could really bite them in the tournament.
Possibly.
I think so, but I'm not certain.
I'm not either. I really don't.
Well, let me just tell you, Heritage beat Bluffton tonight. Bluffton was undefeated. I know they're 2A, but they've won that sectional that Eastbrook and Tipton's been in the last 2 years and done it pretty handedly. And Heritage whipped them tonight. I mean, whipped them.
Yep.
So, and you got Lures and Dwenger. It was 3-0 at halftime. Dwenger on top. That's what I'm just meaning, because those kids won't have been mentally have to be in a game for 4 full quarters.
Yeah, and they haven't been in a pressure situation either. So, that's what I felt like tonight was a huge benefit for Madison-Grant, was being in a game where they had to make plays in the fourth quarter to hold on and win. Mississippi hasn't seen that, and I don't know that they will. There's not a whole lot of love lost between the kids that play for Mississippi and the kids that play for Eastbrook. I know there's a ton of respect Coach Burrish has for Coach Adamson and vice versa, but Mississippi is such a beast up front. I don't know. I think I've thought all season that maybe Madison-Grant can match them physically up front, but Eastbrook's MO has never really been with their offensive line. If you look back, even their teams that went to 3 state championship games in 4 years, they didn't have big offensive linemen. They had strong kids. They have kids that can get out and move and get out in front of the misdirection on their option offense, and that's where they butter their bread with is having offensive linemen that are strong kids, but are mobile kids as well. But yeah, Mississippi's linebackers are so good. Their front four is so good.
Jackson Ott is something else, isn't he?
Yeah, and sometimes because he's so good, Andrew Monday gets lost in that conversation, and he's a 6'3" kid.
Yes,
is big and strong and fast, and those two clean up a lot of. They clean up a lot around the line of scrimmage, and I think a team that. For a team to really give Mississippi trouble, they're going to have to be really good up front, and they're going to have to probably be able to throw the ball a little bit.
And Heritage is both of those things, and they have 19 seniors.
Well, that'll be it'll be interesting to see how the draw works out. I honestly thought was interested in how Alec with their passing game would match up against Mississippi, and it was apparent very quickly that
it didn't.
It did just because they couldn't protect Brady long enough for his receivers.
And that's a pretty good offensive line at Alexandria.
Yeah, they couldn't get him open downfield. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the recipe is to beat Mississippi. I don't think there's truly an answer in the CIC. I do think Madison-Grant probably is close to a matchup up front with the Indians, but we'll see in a couple of weeks. I just hope Madison-Grant can keep their focus, and they've done it all year long. Next week is the most important game, and they cannot look past Alexandria, and I don't think they will. But with Mrs. Cinewald Friday after, it might be easy to have an eye looking in the future. But and Mrs. Cinewald can't afford it either, because Eastbrook is good enough that if they don't play, if Mrs. Cinewald doesn't play well, Eastbrook could make it tough for them. And just the rivalry, Eastbrook, and then that's the thing that Coach Adamson has repeated over and over to me all season long is he loves how hard his team plays every week. Even if it's not executing to the level that he would like, they're giving him all out effort. And if they've got more to give, they will give more against Mississippi. I can assure you of that.
All right, let's move to the Hoosier Conference, where Lafayette Central Catholic pretty much won they won the small school division of the Hoosier Conference with a 35-13 win over Tipton. I talked to Coach Tolle earlier tonight. He was, for the most part, happy with the effort against a very good Knights team.
We ran into a really, really good football team. Definitely one of the top 5 teams in 2A. We did, honestly, after the first quarter, we did a lot of good things. We managed to shoot ourselves in the foot multiple times. But there were a lot of bright spots. I mean, we were really bad first 2 or 3 series, and dug ourselves a hole. It was, let me see, we got down 21-0 in the first half, and then we started playing a little bit and doing some good things both offensively and defensively. Isaiah Mahaney broke a 92-yard kickoff return.
Saw that, yeah.
Right before halftime. So it was, I believe, 28-7 at halftime, and it ended up 35-13. So we shot ourselves in the foot. We got a punt block for a touchdown.
Wow.
So our defense didn't give up any points in the second half.
Wow.
We don't get a punt blocked. It's we win the half 6-0. So there were some bright spots. Certainly things that we need to improve. But we went up against just a junior, senior laden team that's used to winning. Just a really, really good team.
And nice to have Isaiah back, I bet.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a couple weeks in a row, so hopefully that becomes a trend. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, the key was, Tipton had success on the ground. Condit ran for over 100 yards. Quinn had 41 yards on 12 carries. He had that 27-yard touchdown run, and his yardage would have been more if he hadn't sacked. Central Catholic did, as we talked about the pregame. When we talked about the pregame concerns, was Quinn just didn't have time to throw the football. He 5 of 13 tonight, and it's they kept put a lot of pressure on him back there as far as throwing the football. Tipton's defense, Central Catholic's last touchdown came on a blocked punt. I thought Tipton's defense held well at times, had a couple big plays against them, but it was a good test. It was a good test for the Blue Devils, and so I think this game will help them in a couple. Will help them close out the season and the regular season the next couple of weeks, and then heading into the tournament.
Well, they've really been tested, and really nice to see Isaiah Mahaney back and contributing to the offense.
Yeah, two straight games now. He's returned to kickoff
Right.
for a touchdown. So
Yes. Very, very nice. I think that schedule is really going to pay off for them. We're going to talk about Lapel a little later. I think that might be the case with them as well. Just playing really tough schedules.
Yeah, for Tipton, they played those guys. They played Heritage and LCC back to back. Heights is a rivalry game, and then you get Benton Central to close out the season, which is probably maybe a nice thing because
Yes,
I think
it'll probably be a good thing. Yeah.
they can really build their, really get some confidence and maybe really get that passing game untracked.
I just since we talked, I got Hamilton Heights score. They beat Twin Lakes 26-16 to improve to 2-5. So big win for Hamilton Heights heading into that Tipton game.
Yeah, it was their homecoming night. Dave Calabro was there. He was their parade marshal. I thought that was kind of neat that he came in and did that. And they were on, they were part of, what is it that Calabro had? The full
Right.
operation football. So, yeah, it was nice, and it'll be a good game next week because it's, a hammer. Tipton and Heights, they don't like each other.
Nope, that should be a really good one. All right. Before we get to the North Central Conference and talk about Marion real fast, Western lost 31-14 to Tippecanoe Valley to fall to 0-7. To the North Central
Valley is a very good team.
Very good team. We keep saying that every week about Western and Frankton. Yeah, very good teams they're playing. So I believe Frankton will no longer be winless coming up, and I have a feeling that Western may not either. All right, to the North Central Conference, Scott. 70-28, Lafayette Jeff clinches their 20th North Central Conference championship with their 10th straight win over the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants were pretty good hosts tonight. So.
They were very accommodating to their guests, weren't they?
Yeah, my English isn't working real well tonight. That's a great word, accommodating, for sure. Honestly, Marion's 4 touchdowns came on a 79-yard run by Logan Barnes. I think he had a 6-yard score. Tim Jones had a 75-yard run, and Barnes had the first touchdown was a 66-yard score. So Marion hit 4 home runs tonight, but they also had 8 turnovers and double-digit penalties again for I don't know. I think they've had double-digit penalties every game this year, and it's just it's not a pretty sight. And with Jeff, their offense, their quarterback, and his name escapes me right now. I know coming into tonight had thrown for about 1,500 yards and was completing 72% of his passes with 21 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions on the season. And you can't give anybody the ball eight times on turnovers and expect to stay in a football game. If Marion's got, they've got Anderson and Muncie Central, or Muncie Central and Anderson the last 2 weeks of the season, and I assure you, if they turn the ball over 8 times against either one of those teams, they're probably going to lose one or both of those games.
Well, Muncie Central is not bad. So, by the way, his name is Kean Crowder, and that receiver is Alan Fancher, who is legit one of the best receivers in the state.
Well, and he's, that kid is the leading receiver, but Crowder's got 2 other kids that had close to 400 yards and multiple touchdowns coming into tonight as well. So, I didn't get to see any of that game, obviously, and I listened to the legend who is Jim Brunner's call of the fourth quarter.
Yes, sir.
And it's just, was almost stunned to hear that Marion had turned the ball over 8 times. I mean, that's just in week 7.
That's more than half your possessions.
Yeah, and like I said, that the four scoring plays for Marion, 3 of them were 65 yards or longer. They've got to give themselves a chance, and when you're doing that, when you're getting that many penalties on a weekly basis, and then you turn the ball over like that, you don't have a chance. And there's no question in my mind, and I've seen it. The Giants have talent. They have a lot of talent. But I think when we started talking early in the season, told you that the details and the discipline we're going to tell the story, and I think that's what's telling the story. I do think Marion ends up 5-4 for the season, which is an improvement over the last 2 or 3 seasons. But I think they left some. I think they left some chips on the table too because of the penalties and turnovers.
That win over Kokomo is starting to look a little weird now, especially after Kokomo is back to 3-3. They led Richmond 51-15 at halftime. Not that that's a huge one, but that's one of those when you look at scores. Looking back through a couple of years later, you look back through this one, it might look like, oh, what happened there? So another one of those was, of course, we'll talk about the Hoosier Heartland Conference here in a minute, but the Taylor Sheridan win now looks really strange after tonight.
Yeah, that one surprised me. And I don't know anything about either one of those teams. And I saw this score, and I was like, what the world happened there?
I will say this, we talked to Greg, when we were talking, was it last night or the other day, and thought that game could be close. I thought Taylor might get it, but we also talked about, that's the thing when you're coaching 17-year-old kids, Coach Padgett and his staff wasn't going to take Prairie lightly because, winning record, and they've beaten Taylor for so many years. But, kids, they can live off those press clippings and all their buddies at school. You be scared, and oh my God, look how good
Right.
And they're having their best record, and they may not be as they may not have been as focused as they needed to be. And it was also Clinton Prairie's homecoming, and I bet Prairie had something. Was probably sitting there thinking, you know what? We can't afford, to lose to these guys. And because Taylor did beat Sheridan, it's probably easier for the Prairie coaches to get their players' attention.
That's what we talked about coming into the game. Kokomo's Marion Pollard had an 80-yard touchdown run on the first play from scrimmage, and that's pretty much all you need to know about that one. McCutcheon beat Muncie Central 20-14. Like I've been saying week after week, Muncie Central is a good bad team. And Lafayette Harrison is 5-2 after beating Anderson 52-0. All right, Scott, you're our CIC and North Central Conference guy, so you're going to take off. I know you've had a long day, so thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Enjoyed it. You guys have a good evening.
Thanks, Scott.
You too, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to Scott. He always has a lot of good insight on those Grant County teams.
Yes, he does.
Okay, Eastern beat Tri-Central 28-6. Michelle, I think, especially with the lack of numbers for Tri-Central, those 2 or 3 injuries they've had of 2 or 3 of their best players has just really kind of derailed things. Although I think they're going to have a chance to win a couple of games here late in the year.
Yes, it was only 14, and it was 14 to, I think only 14-6 at halftime, and I think 21-6. So defensively, they're doing there, but that lack of numbers, it wears on you. And so I guess the good thing is that he's got some young kids that probably aren't varsity level, but are getting varsity experience this year. Kind of like, Tipton last year. Although now I don't know what his junior high numbers are. If he'll be able to have a big class come in, next year to help out with those numbers, like Tipton did this year.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just been for Tri Central. It's just been an unlucky year because they were short on numbers, and then when you lose two of your best linemen, it just it hurts.
It hurts a lot. All right, as we said, Sheridan beat Delphi 21-7. Big win for Sheridan, which they will now have a chance to play Carroll in Week 9, probably for the conference championship, despite that loss to Taylor.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I would have I would like to have been in Bud's locker room at halftime.
Yes.
You know, you get outplayed in the fourth quarter last week. You play a lousy fourth quarter, and then you're down 7-0 to Delphi at halftime. And I think Delphi had like two or three interceptions in the first half of Sheridan. So I can only imagine what Bud's halftime speech was, because then they come out and they put it to Delphi in the second half. So Sheridan's a team that has a great head coach and a good coaching and a great coaching staff, and but they've got to, I would say, become more consistent if they want to make the same kind of run in the postseason tournament that they have in the past.
And of Class A, number 3, Carroll beat Clinton Central 45-6. So again, Week 9 should be Sheridan and Carroll for that conference championship.
Yes.
And probably I think without question, our most entertaining game of the night was at Delta, where Delta beat Pendleton Heights 27-26. Delta's now 4-3, 2-3 in the Hoosier Heritage Conference. Pendleton Heights is a disappointing 2-5 and 1-4. Man, they've had some tough losses. Zane Klein caught a bomb to put Delta within scoring position, and Bronson Edwards threw a 7-yard touchdown pass to Cole Minette with 52 seconds left. Then Pendleton drove down the field and had a chance to win the game. But like I said, yesterday's Central Indiana Sports Report player of the day for soccer missed a 45-yard field goal as time expired. Of course, any kid making a 45-yard field goal in high school is a big one. That's like asking an NFL kicker to kick a 65-yard field goal most of the time. So that's definitely not on him.
The state finals one year.
That's right. I was going to bring that up. Brad Green, the heroic. Was it 45 or was it?
It was 46, I believe.
46, yeah, in the snow, in the cold,
yes.
Man, what an amazing kick. That was part of the reason I wanted to bring that up. That's one of the great memories, is that kick against Winger to send Tipton to the state championship. So,
yes, kudos though to Pendleton High, because 2-5 now. I mean, Delta scores late. Those kids could have been deflated, but they didn't. I mean, they gave themselves still gave themselves an opportunity to pull out the win. So kudos to the coaching staff and that team for the coaching staff for helping those kids to believe that they can. They still are good and they can win.
Yeah, big win for Delta. That's for sure. After 3 straight losses.
Yes, and because who does Delta have to close their season out with?
The 2 big ones. So
yeah, and Greenfield Central is going to be even more upset because
yes, they are.
That they had that terrible carryover. They let last week's loss to New Pal carry over to this week, and Yorktown, they were ready.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the loss as much as, I don't know if people realize this or not. If you look at NFL or college teams that play on an off day, like if you don't play every Saturday, how much that throws you off. It just throws you right out of your rhythm, and to play a game on a Saturday evening, and I just think that can really throw off a team. Who knows? Maybe Yorktown is that good. They're now 5-2 overall, 3-2 in the conference, tied with Greenfield, and I think Greenfield might have also been a little overrated.
They might have, yes.
But big win for Yorktown, 5-2. So really nice win for the Tigers. To the Three Rivers Conference, Michelle, we talked about this. Really nice opponent for Northwestern coming off that loss last week. They beat Wabash 40-6, and they are now 6-1 overall and 5-1 in the Three Rivers Conference. We'll get a nice test next week against Peru. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens in that one.
Yes, yeah, I saw Peru. They scrimmaged against Tipton earlier, and I think Peru may be down just slightly this year.
Yeah, they're middle of the pack in the Three Rivers, and so I think that'll be a pretty good challenge, like Lewis Cass was for Northwestern. So we'll see how that goes. That's should be a good one. McConaughey and Rochester both won tonight as well. So
McConaughey beat Cass.
yes,
so.
in a pretty competitive game. And then Rochester and McConaughey, of course, play each other in week 9. So that's probably will come down to that one. And then the Independents, we talked about Heritage Christian beat LaPel 40-21. That's 3 straight losses for LaPel against 3 really good teams. I think they're going to be disappointed that they're 4-3, but this schedule is probably going to pay off for them in the long run, I think.
Yeah, as long as they don't get down on themselves, they spotted Heritage Christian like 27 points, and I think LaPel, I believe they had 3 turnovers. I don't know if it was 3 interceptions or combination of interceptions and fumbles, but they had 3 turnovers, I believe, like in the first quarter or quarter and a half. And, that's something they are going to have to fix going forward if they want to, because they have the talent to make a run in the in the
Yes.
2A tournament.
Yes.
But they can't if they continue to make those mistakes, and especially early in a game that allows your opponent to to jump out to a lead and everything. So,
and then our final game was one of the craziest. West Dell beat Park Tudor 72-45 to improve to 3-4. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. West Dell had a senior. Brock Noman had 1 touchdown in his career coming into the game and scored 8 tonight.
it's just crazy.
I've never seen anything like it. And it's not like Park Tudor is bad either.
No,
they were 4-2 coming in.
I know. It's hard, but you gotta look at who these teams.
No, I understand that they're not a great team, but to beat them 72-45, West Dell's got to feel really good about themselves.
Well, yeah, but a lot of that though, that game did not get to a running clock. I mean, West Dell
never did.
Scored a lot late. I mean, that game was back and forth, and then West Dell, I think, scored a couple late touchdowns to really put it away.
Right. Well, Michelle, this was without question our most entertaining week so far, especially in the CIC, the conference that we care most about. Really, Madison-Grant, Eastbrook really was what we expected. Alexandria looks like the 3rd or 4th team there in the CIC that's going to be a fun game next week against Madison-Grant. I thought Tipton learned a lot about themselves and probably feels pretty good heading into week 8. Again, a tough schedule. Lafayette Central Catholic is really good, and I think that was a pretty good performance. Your overall thoughts on the week?
Overall thoughts on the week is, Eastbrook and Madison-Grant turned out to be a really good game. Thought it would be. Madison-Grant got to find out that, and they showed everybody that you're as good as, opposing coaches that, you talk to after they played Madison-Grant, talk about how good Madison-Grant is.
Yes.
Well, now everybody's got to see that saying, well, who have you played? Who have you played? I'm into that somewhat, but not always everything, I thought that you and I both thought Madison-Grant was really good. I was just, the only thing you question is when you, especially like I said again, when you're high school kids.
Yes.
And when they get into a tight game and they haven't had one, how are they going to respond?
Exactly. Yeah.
especially, when they haven't been challenged for more than half the season. And Madison-Grant responded very well. Brady and his, defense coordinator, Brock Massey, those guys have done an outstanding job with that program.
Yes, they really have. And, it was just that it wasn't that we were really questioning if Madison-Grant was good. Obviously, they were good. We just needed proof, and now we have it.
Yes,
Oak Hill and now Eastbrook, and, those are two really quality wins.
And next week, we'll see how they do against Alexandria. I am anxious to see how they do against a really good passing attack. And I know Oak Hill has some, and they did it, but that was kind of that's not really what Oak Hill wants to do, but that is what Alec loves to do.
Let's hope that it's a clear night.
Yes, and so that will be an interesting matchup. I think they will probably find or devise a way to get pressure on Gast, and I do believe Scott is right. There are two ways to disrupt passing team, especially one like a rhythm, and that is one, pressure the quarterback. Don't let him get comfortable in the pocket. And the second thing is keep him off the field for, just give him very limited time on the field. And I think Madison-Grant has, with their offensive line and the stable of running backs that they have and weapons, I do believe they possess that, and they can do that. They can keep that Alex offense off the field for a long period of time if they so choose.
So I think we need to start talking about, can Madison-Grant make a long run in the postseason? Just looking at their sectional, I think they're clearly the favorites to win the sectional. The question is going to be the regional, I think, where that would be North Judson's number one, just looks really, really good. So I know that's looking way too far in advance, but tonight has me thinking about that.
Yeah, when you get, they can win the sectional, and when you get to the tournament, I know Coach Mike Tolle always said a lot of years, it's good to be good, but you have to have a little luck too. The farther you go in the tournament, it helps to have a little luck. And I thought Tri-Central had a little bit of luck when they made their run all the way to win the state championship, Class A state championship in 2013. And but I think Madison-Grant is capable, because that Tri-Central team that did do that Tri-Central team had a lot of weapons. Now, I think they threw the ball probably maybe just a tad bit more, but they had three good running, but they had a lot of weapons, just like Madison-Grant does, and so very similar. So I think as long as Madison-Grant stays healthy, but their key guys stay healthy. I know you have depth, but it's kind of nice when you have that depth to keep everybody fresh. Often it allows you to have rotations, so kids that play both ways can take a series or a couple plays off to, and if you get an injury here or there, then that kind of changes that a little bit.
It does, but
yeah, I think they can make a good run in the Class A state tournament.
By the way, according to the Sagarin rating, North Judson and Madison-Grant are by far the top two teams in Class A.
So
interesting. They are both 6 points better than anybody else, according to the Sagarin rating, in the entire state. So, and that'll change after a big win over Eastbrook too. So we'll see how that plays out. And of course, the games are played on the field, not on the computers. But I think it would be natural for people in Madison-Grant in that area to start thinking that way, because they are that good.
To me, and I know, Madison-Grant, if they win next Friday, and I think they will. I think Mrs. Cinewall will beat Eastbrook. So I look forward to week 9 in the CIC. But I was going to say, Greg, I think next week we have some good matchups.
Yes, we do.
Like you have the rivalry with Mrs. Cinewall and Eastbrook, Tipton and Hamilton Heights.
That's right.
some really Tri-Central and Clinton Central.
Yep.
I mean, those are some good rivalries.
They really are. And also Elwood and Frankton, right?
No, that's week 9.
Oh, that's week 9. Okay.
Yeah, Frankton is good. Frankton needs next week. They get Blackford. They need that. Frankton needs a win. It's. I know the season has not gone the way that they had hoped or thought it would. But again, they lost. They lost a lot. They lost. They lost some really top defensive players, and that I believe is what really has hurt Frankton this year. They haven't been able to replace Farrell at middle linebacker and Nauer and I can't think of the other 2 kids that played pivotal roles defensively last year.
Well, they've also
one of them, Bubba Nunley, right. And then there was one more.
They've also had they've played 7 games, and 5 of those teams have been ranked at some point this season. So there's that too. So
there is that too, but I think what's disappointing probably for them is they have last year they were competitive in some of those games.
Right. That's right.
Or at least not running clocks, and I don't think because of that defense, and that's they haven't been competitive in a lot of these games. That's got to be what's disappointing to them.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle. I know you're tired and you got to get up and go back to golf, and I got to get up and go to cross country. So it's been a lot of fun, but let's go to bed.
Let's go to bed. Oh, and hey, remind our listeners that the volleyball pairing show is this Sunday. I believe it's 7 p.m. on ihsatv.org. So,
and Michelle and I will talk about that plenty between now and the volleyball postseason, which can't wait for that one too.
There we go.
And also soccer sectional start this week, tennis regionals. It is a busy time.
It is a busy time. The one thing about tomorrow, it's kind of a bittersweet thing for the girls golfers in the state of Indiana. Their season ends tomorrow.
That's right. Yep.
It's the final day of the season.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks again to Michelle and Scott Hunt of the Marion Chronicle. Also to Coach Tolle, Coach Adamson, Coach Turner, Coach Ozmun, and Coach Gast for calling in and participating in the podcast. We always appreciate that dearly. And once again, so sorry to Coach Gast that I went to place his audio in the podcast and there was nothing on it. Again, probably a mistake on my part, but we are so grateful to all the coaches. We are also grateful to you for listening. Thank you so much for doing so. Don't forget there's another Central Indiana Sports Report tomorrow because there is one every day. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.